For I know that they said that they're kind of cutting back on like there's going to be a big break because our like they basically have just been kind of playing nonstop for the last like 2 years. So we'll see what's the big plan here.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's been about 2 months since we've had the RLCS World Championship in Germany, and a lot of people have been wondering what the heck is going on. When's RLCS 2024? Next season? What's happening in the off season? People just wanted answers, and today Psyonix actually gave us some. Today's video, we're going to go over a couple things.
That's a rarity.
Number one, my speculation of what the next season is going to look like. It's not officially confirmed, but based upon scheduling and some of the information that we have been provided, feeling pretty confident about what's going to be coming. Also talking about what the off season is going to look like. We have some confirmation. We've got some community tournaments to get excited for. So with that, let's jump over to the other page and talk about some stuff and provide some insight. So if you haven't seen the official announcement, they did put out a post today saying community events taking over the RLCS offseason. The biggest thing to take away from it at the very beginning, it says at the top in the coming months that they'll have more information on the 2024 season and the return.
In the coming months, guys, we'll have more information. In the coming months, don't worry. There will be a lot more information.
Of RLCS, which again,
all right, dude, peace out.
Confirms that hey, it'll be back next year. For the next 3-4 months, we've got nothing, no RLCS except for hopefully more details in the future. But to compensate for that, we have some tournaments that are going to be going on. The first one is CRLs returning for the fall. The qualifiers actually wrap up tomorrow. I'll have another video about roster stuff coming out tomorrow, but if you're trying to play in the qualifiers for the CRL, you've got a day to sign up. Alongside of that, rather than
UE5 was April Fool's joke, probably.
Made it easy. There's a bunch of tournaments that are going to be happening. The first one is Salt Mine 3. That's with the Chalked cast, Rizzo, Johnny Boy, CJ. They're going to be running another 1v1 tournament. Should be exciting as always.
Bro, Rocket League needs an actual like a one scene other than just Chalk cast. Because they pull in a shit ton of viewership when they do that too, but like Rocket League needs to be monetizing that and making fucking money off of it.
They have then the Draw Season 2, which is with Rizzo and James Bond, which is a open qualifier bubble scene, like 17 to 24, 32 ranked teams going up against already pre-qualified teams. Reason why they do this is one, it gives the chance for the amateur scene to grow and
some
build,
exposure.
but it also still pulls the viewership and the sponsorship opportunity with the main tier team.
Money.
So it ends up working out that way. This should hopefully provide us some opportunity to see some of these new rosters in action as well. Probably the one I'm most excited about. Usually there's a lot of community tournament casters, a lot of good stuff. Star Chasers is a $30,000 an NA for 15K and an EU for 15K women's tournament, open qualifiers. That's in partnership with Radiant as well as Women's Carball and everything else. So good to see that and support for the women's scene.
That's cool.
You then got the Gauntlet, which is actually OCE, and I think that's a weekly tournament that they're doing. You then have Regional Rumble, which is not Australia. The Rumble is going to be APAC weeklies, chances for MENA teams and everything else, which is really, really cool. There's then Bandits on Wheels, which I think is like $7,000 weekly tournaments, which I think is absolutely insane. It's a lot of opportunity. You then have Rocket Street, Latin America, South American teams, Latin American teams, chance to compete as well. Flip and Spin, which I think is actually a new one, if I remember correctly. 2 open qualifiers, winner of each qualifying team for main event. Main event is 8 total teams battling in a single elimination bracket live on LAN at Paris Games Week. So pretty brutal. It is a 3v3 LAN event that ends in Paris. Based upon what we just saw for the K-Corp event, a lot of opportunity and a lot of excitement for that. Curious to see what that one looks like, but that might be our first look. The only downfall, a lot of these tournaments do not have specifics on dates. You'll have to check out their specific Twitters to find that stuff out. The last one is Rendezvous, which is with Rocket Baguette. As always, it is a giant single elimination bracket. There is going to be 14 online weeklies from September 21st to December 21st, and they're all $2,100. So $2,100. It is 3v3, make or break, single elim, very quick moving. So I like the cutthroat mentality of what the Europeans are doing over in their tournament. So outside of the community tournaments, the big thing I wanted to focus on is that statement that they talk about. More information coming soon about the 2024 season. There's a lot of conversation in the offseason about what is going to be happening moving forward into RLCS. What are going to be the specifics? What are going to be the details that are happening? How do we know what to expect? And while they haven't given us anything specifically other than, hey, it is going to be next year, so we do have a dedicated 3-4 month off season, The assumed and the messages that I put out were, if you didn't make a regional 3 in the invitational, you're essentially sitting in break for 7 months. There's some complications right now to the RLCS format that definitely need addressing. I think they're going to have to do trade locking with international transfers potentially soon. I think maybe age restrictions being increased for guidelines, maybe up to 17 or 18.
Dear God, they do. I'm glad he fucking gets it, dude. The whole switching from EU to NA, I'm kind of like, meh. Like, I don't really care, but they definitely need to put a fucking age lock, dude. They need to stop having 15-year-old kids be, like, the face of your entire pro scene. I don't think it's a good look.
With a grandfather clause or potential. And then the other one is the format. While I do love 3 regionals into a major, multiple majors into a world championship.
It's too much Rocket League.
System, which is something that Psyonix Epic will never get rid of. The complication is the schedule. And I've said this before. Previously, from the 21 to 22 and the 22 to 23 season, there was a 6-week break. You're talking over the course of what is 26 events or something like that. You've got 3 regionals per split, so that's 9. You then have another 3 majors, so that's 12, 13 events, including the World Championship per year. So 26 events over the course of what is essentially a 6-week break. And while, yes, there is trade window breaks and transfer windows and stuff like that,
it's too much.
These players never really get a mental break. Every single tournament is weighted into the RLCS that they play. Every single time that there is a down period, they're probably stressing about who their next roster is going to be, what tryouts are going to look like, all that kind of stuff. So when you're saying the season ends late August and starts up again early October, you have essentially a month and a half to then figure out what your new team is going to be. No downtime. A lot of players like Jack and them went to Bali and had to cancel their like vacation because they had to get back home for tournament tryouts, try to figure out what their new roster was. And like the mental strain burns players out. This was something similarly that happened to Counter-Strike, and eventually the Counter-Strike scene said, we need a dedicated offseason of at least 3 months, and it looks like Psyonix is following suit. And if they continue to follow suit, we're going to...
Like, I know everybody's going to say it's fucking video games, like, just sit there and play. What pro sport offseason is less than 3 months? What pro? Obviously, like, the NFL is done in February, right? February Super Bowl, obviously, if you shit the bed. Then it is what it is, but I don't know, like 3 months is kind of steep, but nah, see, like I don't disregard the mental strain of it, because you're still like, that is basically your job at that point, and having to sit there and play endless amounts of hours is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. 3 months might be kind of steep, but I definitely think you need more than a 6-week break. Game's gonna die in that time. That's still doing okay right now, and they're basically saying that at this point it's gonna be a 7-month break. I don't think you're too worried about the game necessarily dying, but
see some interesting things. As I go over to my other screen, some things that I want to address about the calendar year. Currently, the way that it's been done is you're primarily seeing the RLCS go from somewhere in here in like early October, where like qualifiers will start here, and then EU, NA, etc. with a event in here right before the holidays. There's a little bit of a break, and then we start up again in February, and we do that all the way until we get. So you're talking this time frame is about 6 weeks, and that's it. That's all you have for an off season, and it doesn't work out. But if we change the mentality of the way that we're doing things, the hope is this is what will be in the future. They're going to go to a 2-split system, which is going to open up some opportunities. There's a lot of benefits of this, so bear with me. What I think they're going to do is they're going to start probably the season somewhere in here with an NA or an EU Open qualifier, with the main event the following week. And when the main event happens, that's when the other region. So if NA starts, then EU will start. So we'll use it like this. So like NA Open qualifiers the 12th, and then you have their main event starting on the 19th. And then on the 19th, you have EU's Open qualifier with their main event on the 26th. And you see that alternation of the regionals like you did before. Eventually, there will be a major, but the difference this time is because there is only 2 majors. You have the ability to expand the break period. It does two things. Number one, it provides more time for opportunity of third-party events. I think Psyonix is recognizing that they're missing the DreamHacks events that we had in 2019, the Beyond the Summits, the We Plays, all of those third-party events that we used to have that do not persist anymore. I think they want to open back up to like the Blast Premiers and all those other tournament organizations. It allows them to put less time and emphasis into building out their space. It allows them to try new formats, different casters, different perspectives, unique appropriations to formats, and like it allows them to get some experimentation to the scene. And it's also really good for the players. It gives them a chance to not only grow the game, but the players have the ability to go and compete in a tournament that isn't like make or break for their entire season, which is something that's been requested for a long time. The difficulty, though, with the way the scheduling's done right now is there's just no time for that. There is no room for them to put in third-party tournaments. We saw this same issue last year where they tried to do Gamers 8 before the World Championship, and a lot of players either didn't want to go for personal reasons, but also didn't want to go because if they went from a major straight to Gamers 8 and then to the World Championship, the World Championship was being diminished because players were burnt out. But they did Gamers 8 after the World Championship this year. Makes a lot more
And
sense.
it was way better.
So by going to 2 splits, I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for third-party organizers. It's going to give us still the same amount of lands, if not more. It's going to build the ecosystem. It's going to provide a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. I think it's a really good idea. Second part of that is if there's only 2 splits, that means that rosters are going to stay more solidified. Right now, you are seeing a trend of teams last minute in spring split pick up a new player like Rise. BDS goes on a run and then they make the World Championship, and all the previous stuff is so negligible because the weight is in the end of the season that a lot of the rosters that we started the season with no longer exist, and all those narratives are dead. If you only enable 1 trade window, so you're saying, okay, split 1 ends in like March, you have from end of March until like May, mid-May, so you have like say like 2 months or so to like determine what your rosters are going to be. Hopefully those rosters, it's only 1 change. It makes it a lot easier to follow along. And then they make the run for that major and that World Championship. And hopefully we can start to build these fan bases. And if only 1 change is happening, hopefully then you're seeing these teams persist from year to year. I would love to see the exact same 2023 teams go and try to make a repeat run in 2024 rather than changing it all the time. If that happens or not, I don't know, but that is the hope that
Kids don't got loyalty
we're gonna
either.
see, as a general recap, a couple changes. Number 1, a lot of off-season tournaments to buy time to get us to the beginning of next season, which will start sometime January, probably mid-January if I had to guess. We're then going to see the seasons end within each calendar year. It's going to be 2024 season, 2025 season, so on and so forth. Alongside that, you're going to have 2 splits instead of 3. This provides the ability for more third-party tournaments. It also provides the ability to keep rosters more solidified because there's less trade windows. It also makes it a lot easier to manage. I think Psyonix is going to take more of a step back and allow some of these other tournament organizers and production teams to really take advantage of it. A lot of exciting things, I think, because of that. And the number one thing is we're going to get more events overall because of it. Even though we're going to have less regionals online and 1 less major, there should be a significant more amount of majors overall throughout the scene, maybe 3 or 4 more a year. Plus the ability then for Psyonix to say, okay, let's really focus on the World Championship and make this as cool as possible and really solidify that. There's a lot of maybes in that, but based upon the way that the scheduling is looking, I'm thinking we're going to have seasons go from January to August. The rest of the summer is off. Fall, winter is taken off. Get through holiday season. Then we start back at the beginning of the year. It's a lot easier to follow. I think it's going to be a lot better for these teams. And overall, I think it's just a lot better for their ecosystem, especially if we get more and more land. So that's where my thought is. I think that's based upon what the information that's being provided. We already knew there was an extended offseason because of what was told by some of the other people in organizations, but now we have it confirmed, and I'm just going to continue to believe in the gut of this is what is going to be happening in the future if they continue to follow. Because that offseason, the number one thing, that 3-4 month break is desperately needed. I think the players are burnt out. I think the viewership is burnt out from watching the same regionals over and over again. I think it's a good thing for the scene. It's going to make us miss the season when it comes back rather than it feeling like it's season 22-23 part 2. Again, last season was a lot. So that's where I'm at. If you guys have any additional questions, your own thoughts, opinions, let me know in the comments down below. Do you like the idea of a 2-split format instead of 3? Interested to see what you guys have to say. With that, we're out of here. See you next time. Peace.
I agree. I definitely think it's the like shit. You just get burnt out all the fucking time. Like, I didn't even really keep up with Rocket League that much, and I still constantly saw that it was there was always some split something going on, and it was just crazy. I'm gonna fucking link the video. Lawler fucking carries the Rocket League like news scene. How about Sonic's focus on some new ideas for their games? Yeah, dude, I agree. I think though, when you take a longer off season and whatnot, that gives you more opportunity to do things for your game. I do think that when you are constantly running lands and all these splits and all these like events that Psyonix actually has to focus on and not dedicated, you're wasting other time and resources where you could be like just improving your game. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Hopefully they figure it out.